So in here, you're allowed to take pictures, even using flashing lights, okay? And sleeping as well. If you're afraid of whatever you want, but please don't be great. Okay. Even upstairs, you're also allowed to use your phones. Okay. Thank you. It's up to you. It's up to you where to start. Here, upstairs, and there's also guarded to that. Okay. Just take it. Thank you. I'll see.
Hello.
Hello.
If you have some questions, you just let me know, and I will ask you for questions.
Sure. I would love to know a little bit about the history of this place.
Okay, by the way, my name is Lloyd, one of the curator in this house, caretaker at the same time. So this house has belonged to the family of Chinese, the Yap family. Because in the history of the time, there are many Chinese people living in this area. We call this area as a Chinatown. So we have a picture there. Can you move here? We call it is the Colon Street, the oldest street in the whole country in the Philippines, biggest street.
Wow.
So this has happened in the 1900s, but sad to it was destroyed during World War II. You cannot see that anymore. But in the history of the time, when the arrival of this island is the native Mali people, we have a soldier, that's we call it Mali, have a lot of tattoo that we have it, the pintados we call it. But when the Chinese came here, it just only do business by barter and trade. That's why we call this area, and the Colon is a trading market. Because the word Cebu is originally is Zubu, turned into Cebu when they pronounced the foreign people, the Spanish. That's time that we have a trading market. And we call it the Parian. Parian means barter and trade in exchange. So this house was owned by Chinese. The lower part is used business, upper part is the residence. This is how it looked like right now. But the lower is more business because across the street there was a church. It's owned by the Jesuits. But sad to it, it was destroyed because the altar of the church is made by a silver and gold because of the jealousies of the prior people during the time. Wow. Because not all the prior people, not all the native Filipino, and not all the, the Chinese people donated to the other churches that they have it. So what he did is just the Chinese community is donated in this area. But it's destroyed already because of the prior decisions that they make it destroyed. Because this is owned by a Jesuits. It means the Chinese community that we have living in this area. Because this is a wealthy area that happened during the time. Because if you are seeing this one area, it's a Chinatown. If you are going to Basilica and the Cathedral, that's a Spanish town area. If you are going to marketplace that we have it is a dried fish. Those are the native Filipino living there. But sad to it was destroyed already during the revolutions happened when the Japanese invade us. In 400 takeover by the Japanese in this country, we have to need to fight to become an independent people that we have it in this country. But sad to it, then running through, the American colonized also in this country. That's why Filipino Cebuano can speak fluently English than Tagalog. Our national language is more in Tagalog, but most language that they have it is the Spanish word. But what we have it here is more English, and some of them they're Spanish. But the original language that we have it, we call it the Baybayin. It means the Malay language, in Indonesian language that we have it. Because we are the Malay people in this country. Wow. So what we have it, the language of our culture that we get. But when the colonization of the Spanish, so that's the time that we have it called the Philippines, because originally Philippines call it Maharlika. It's not Philippines. Philippines is came from the King Philip II. So this is colonization the Spanish people took over. We need to fight them, but sad to it will not done because, people has continue already love it so much the word Philippines. That's the known of already Philippines. It's not the Maharlika, but we call it originally Maharlika. It's not Philippines. Maharlika. That's how we call it in Philippines that we get. So this is the reason that I've been here for living for almost 10 years. I've been touring for all the guests that we get here. So recently I am a tour guide license, so I've been sharing for people who wants to come here. Wow. Especially the educated for all younger kids, Younger kids, they don't know, they don't care anymore with the 20th century. But recently, if they visit in this house, I've been loving to entertain them. I've been loving to introduce all the things that we have it, because all these furnitures is the style is more in Spanish that we have it. Mami, dito kayo. Sa bintana. Oh, and this is the used for the chair, the tables for the wealthy family with a 2 stand. But ordinary family used to have a bench and a 4 stand. That's a different way that we have it because we have identity of the Filipino culture that we have in the house style. Because when you see the house like this, seeing the floor first, the bigger, the wider the blocks, the richer you are.
Wow.
The bigger the post you have, the richer you are. That's how the identity. Then in the country of the Philippines, especially in Cebu, it's a trading market that we have it because we are furniture making and export and import. Foreign people are buying from our furnitures like this one, the style. But the identity of Filipino that used to have it is the carving. This is the style of the leaves that we have it in the leaves. And this is the carving of the Spanish. This is a Spanish solejia, we call it this one. This is called a 3 sisters because of 1, 2, 3. This is called a prince chair that we have it like a prince. And this is called a priest chair that you used to have it. The priest will be sitting down like this. And that's the higher back. It's called a bishop chair because the higher back chair that we get. Because the higher back is the identity that you are using for it for your whole family in a wealthy family. But if you have it like an arm like this one, a long arm, even though that they have an arm in this, this is used for only the head of the family wants to discuss like how you preach, how you discuss for the kids like this one. This is the king, that like a king that you're sitting down like this and leaning your arms like in there and to discuss everything that we have to discuss. Because you are the head of the family, you need to do respect for all the kids that you have it. That's how they do Filipino people traditionally. And this is also the bench used for ordinary Filipino because Filipino at the time, they used always to sit down on the chair and they're flipping up the feet and we're eating like this. This is how the culture of Filipino. We are not using a spoon and fork. We normally use our hands. But we learned so much with the Spanish. This is the time that we are making some, spoon and fork. That the language that we are calling cuchara, cucharita. And this is the plato and the vaso. In America, colonized us, this is the time that they are brought some glasses like this. They are different color. The gold, the pink, the green, the yellow, and everything glasses that they brought the American people here. But this one is called a carnival glass because if you have this one in your home, it means that your Lola have always playing game bingo and the carnival. That's why Filipino people are much more gambler. Gamblers used to only to get the whole set on this to win the prize that they get.
Wow.
Not like today's losing your money if you are gambling. This is how the lovely Filipino people. And then we have a sungka. Sungka is popular here in Cebu. Cebu is popular habit this one. In the Philippines, they have to call it this one sungka. But some in other country like in Singapore, they call it this one in chungka. They used to have it. But there are only two player. They have the one row and this the other row. And this is the home and the other home because we Filipino playing this game. Because we are during the time the Filipino mentality said, kids are not allowed to play outside the house. Because if they are playing outside the house, it means there's a white van waiting for you to get. So it means the kidnapper is waiting for you to get you. That's why the reason that the Filipino at the time, they're playing inside the house because they play the sungka. If you know how to play with this is used to have mentality set, ability, technique, and strategy. This is how they do in Filipino. That's how life of Filipino. That's why we have a lot of furnitures we seen from other countries. We are following here, but we need to revise our styles and the identity that we have it made. This is what we get live. And here, we have a coffee table. A rounded table used to have it like this, but this is the American style that they have at the stars of the chairs. But combination with the Spanish, they used to have it, this is the rattan. We call it, this one is the solejia. But in the influence of the Chinese, they used to have it, the table is just like moving.
Oh.
This is the influence of the Chinese table that we get. So it's moving. Even though they have a big rounded table, but it's moving all the same time. So it's combination with American and Chinese. And